lunch too.
She said,
No
he said no lunch.
No lunch.
What?
It's breakfast. We'll be out by 12. Lunch on y'all.
What's the FanDuel line?
The meeting.
I want tacos.
The time is now 12:32. We can go ahead and call this meeting to order for the Economic Development Project Team. Good afternoon, colleagues. Hope you all got something to eat in between this little break. So the first item that we have today is the approval of the minutes from October 8th. Have you all had a chance to review it, and do I have a motion?
Yep, so moved.
Support. Moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, motion carries, thank you. So we have two other items today, our typical verbal updates, but before that, a discussion of strategy. Item number C, a proposed sale of city-owned property at 427 Market Avenue Southwest for affordable housing. And I'm turning it over to City Manager, to Ms. Behrens. All right.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
There is a slideshow, hopefully, maybe.
You got it.
So we just wanted to bring forward for this body just information of some conversations that we are engaged in with respect to a surface parking lot that the city owns and operates through Mobile GR on the Market Avenue corridor.
And Ms. Behrens, before you go, the presentation should be in your packet as well.
Do you have, I have extra copies here if somebody, okay.
We do, thank you.
All right, thank you. So just for awareness and to ensure that everybody is on the same page of what we're doing, as you may hear about it as we start to engage more externally on this potential proposal, just to orient everybody, we are talking about the Market Avenue corridor, really kind of south of the major investments we've been talking about here, so south of Wealthy, but just to show you where we are in the city. And then the city owns that surface parking lot that's at the corner of Wealthy and Market Avenue. It is 75 spaces. It is significantly underutilized. If you've been by it recently, you see that we store things there. A lot of concrete barriers and jersey barriers are being stored there. We also find that it is seen by some in the community as a convenient way to access the river, and so there's a lot of cleanup that we are responsible for consistently on this parcel. It is 10 to 30% utilized on any given day, so again, not used at its highest and best use, and long part of the idea of Market Avenue revitalization and redevelopment to a more active use, so that we can see kind of the investment and the extension of downtown and start to connect all of those investments on Market Corridor. If you saw from the vicinity map, and I'll just go back for real quickly, Godfrey runs close to this area, and if you go up Godfrey, then you're at our other transformational brownfield project, Factory Yard. So really this area on the whole starting to see a significant amount of development, and we had seen our holdings here as a potential way to spark some additional uses that would be active and would catch the sales of that sort of transformation. And so we have been approached by PS Equities that owns the adjacent piece of property that's here on the map, that is 449 Market. They've held the property since 2015 with a vision for affordable housing here. Back in 2015, many of the transformations that we are talking about now were a little bit more of an idea and a lot less concrete. And so as those things are really taking flight, now it is kind of an appropriate place to see more residential development. And we've talked to them over the years about really both of these parcels on their own are very inefficient to develop in terms of the types of infrastructure you would need to install in order to have residential housing there. So we've talked to them for many years about kind of accumulating both of those parcels and developing them in one single project. And most recently recommenced conversations with PS Equities, and I want to point out that Phil Sabert is here in the audience as well, to determine whether even with both of our properties together, does something make sense to develop, and is now the time. So there's a lot of constraints. I won't belabor it, but there's a big trunk sewer that you all are familiar with along this corridor that runs on the river side of the property and requires us to retain a 50-foot easement on our parcel for access to that. You'll see our parcel here has 2 front yards from a zoning perspective, so that usually drives some active use and some setbacks. It's also the river side, which we are also trying to activate. So a lot of kind of demands on this parcel to shoehorn in an affordable housing project. But PS Equities has invested enough to site design and conversations with us and our staff about areas where there may be some flexibility that we do believe now is a good time to carry this project forward. So what we would propose is to now really bring those conversations with PS Equities into a conclusion in earnest, so kind of finalize negotiations in earnest. That would lead us to either an option agreement or a conditional purchase agreement that would allow them to have the type of site control necessary to support an application for LIHTC, which is critical for affordable housing in the capital stack, as you all are aware from many of the projects that come to you. Their intent would be to pursue that for the spring 2025 funding round. May take a couple cycles, so it will be a little while before, if we were to proceed for a project to actually come out of the ground, but again, allows us to continue to be supportive of the transformation of the market corridor, get some income diversity in terms of the residential development that's happening along that corridor, and allow us to make a better use of a piece of property than we are currently seeing there now. So we would continue to engage with interested stakeholders, much like other times when we've been in front of you in terms of selling city property. We haven't done a lot of engagement. We don't want to get too far in front of the commission, but have informed our partners at DGRI about this opportunity, and they are supportive. We've had many conversations about ensuring that the Greenway project comes to fruition the way that we want, and now know where some of the takeout spots and public access spots are, so we're comfortable moving forward and disposing of this property for an affordable housing purchase. We also have made preliminary contact with the other housing project in that corridor right now, Boxboard Lofts, just to let them know and see if there's any feedback that they have. Boxboard Loft does lease 16 stalls at that surface parking lot for overflow and guest parking, and we'll work through them with any transition required for that, including potentially using other city property for that purpose that is not the subject of potential redevelopment. So that is what we wanted to inform you of, take any feedback or suggestions that you have, but let you know that that's moving forward and that we would expect to be able to bring something back to the commission either by the end of this year or very early next year to support continued engagement by PS Equities on the affordable housing funding sources.
Great, thank you, Ms. Behrens, for the presentation. And is it Mr. Saber? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Would you like to add anything to what Ms. Behrens shared since you're here? Oh, okay, all right, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Colleagues, any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I do, Chair, thank you. First, I'm glad to see this come back forward. I recall talking about it, feels like ages ago.
Probably.
I was also really disappointed this past year that the city of Grand Rapids didn't submit any applications for LIHTC, and then therefore didn't get any. And I've been asking where are our LIHTC applications, so I'm glad to see that one is in the works. I know it's a competitive process, but Grand Rapids has been successful in the past on a whole host of LIHTC projects. So I'm eager to see some applications go in to make us at least have a seat at the table next year when LIHTC decisions are being made. You know, I think you touched on my questions around, I know years ago we talked about this being a place where we would have kayak canoe takeout drop in. I'm assuming with the new design, I see our city engineer is here, that is no longer the case, but we'll still have, on the west side of the river, I'm assuming we'll still have entry points in and out of the river.
Yes.
Butterworth.
Yes, at Butterworth, and in addition at 509, which is just north of Wealthy on that corridor. So with the Greenway grant money that has been available, our team and DGRI and others have been really looking at this stretch and finalizing where those takeout points are. And there had been a kayak spot, a takeout spot envisioned for this particular area, but when the team looked at it and looked at the different grades, and the way the river operates there, actually the takeout now would be at 509 Wealthy.
Okay. And then my other question, I think you alluded to as well, is that there would, because we now have the guidelines for the river's edge and green space, that would be considered as we look at redevelopment of the site. And then my other concrete question is the property next to it, we've acquired that as well, correct? So we now own, next to PS Equities, we now own that stretch, is that right?
The stretch that you see on the screen, and I don't think the pointer works on this, but the surface parking lot immediately south is the Boxboard Lofts surface parking, and then the south of that is where we will or are in the process of owning.
Okay, so they'll,
Boxboard Lofts will retain ownership of that
retain
one
ownership.
surface parking, that
Okay.
the one that actually has a decent number of cars in it in that graphic. And then we'll own the piece immediately south of that. Part of that will help us with our Godfrey project, and there's some other improvements we're doing there, and then we'll retain ownership of that.
okay, that's helpful. All right, well, thank you. I'm excited to see this move forward, and I think as quickly as possible, in my opinion. So we know there's a need.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Thank you for this. This is exciting, particularly the idea of getting additional housing units downtown at a variety of price points. So I see that the expectation or the projection is this project could bring 70 to 100 units online. I'm curious about the AMI breakdown, kind of the thinking around the affordability. What range are we thinking will be feasible for this project?
I will have to defer to Mr. Sabert, whether he's able to speak to that yet, or if that'll be a function of the kind of stack as it comes together. But
Could you come to the mic if you're going to speak? Thank you.
Thank you.
To be candid, it's a little early until we can really begin to structure the deal and confirm how many units we can get on the site. But, I mean, typically to score well in a LIHTC round, there's a spectrum of AMIs, a band that you have to have. We may submit this as a, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the brownfield transformational type project with MISTA as well, and that can play into it. So it's just, I can't commit to that. All I can tell you is I've been doing LIHTC since 1986. I did Stonebrook, I think, when Rosalind, the mayor, was first elected, as I recall. I remember standing in front of her. So I've been around a bit. We did Stonebrook, Hidden Creek, way back in the late 90s. Hidden Creek, by the way, just got a state award for, I forget the name of it, for all the upgrades that we've done there. So we're pretty excited about this project. My son Garrett actually stumbled across the site in 2015. I said, okay, but it's going to take a while. And to be candid with you, we submitted it to MISTA. They rejected the site in 2015, said it just wasn't there. But I have no doubts that today, with what's happening in that corridor, we aren't going to have any issues. They're going to be as excited as we are. So
Thank you, Mr.
all I
Mayor.
can tell you is we'll keep you informed.
Yeah, we do. This is exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chair, can I just add one more thing? So fortunately, since 2015, and I remember this, LIHTC, MISTA has worked really closely to make changes to the QAP. And so hopefully, between some of the changes MISTA has made, as well as other pots of funds that have been allocated for low-income and affordable housing, hopefully we'll be more successful. And then I think, for depending on when this goes forward, making sure that the city is actively advocating and being a strong voice on Lansing will be important as well. So.
Thank you. Thank you both. I think I'll just add, yes, later on today, we're going to have a hearing about a transformational brownfield project, and this is sort of where these things start. Well, it starts with the Economic Development Office and other leaders at our city having discussions. What are, people who have hopefully some deep, some understanding about these processes. So I think it's great to hear about this opportunity in this corridor. Also, I'll mention the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. A new headquarters will also be in that corridor as well. You've got, schools that aren't far away, transit center that's not far away, which is also going to have a childcare facility, elements here. And I'll just say, I think we'll all be interested, hopefully, if it's next year, to hear what those pieces are. And it sounds like you have a lot of experience in this as well, which will help aid. Ms. Behrens, our city manager, do you have anything to add? All right.
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So next is our verbal updates. So we're going to, no.
Bring it back up.
John, you're going to come up here and give our Development Center update. We're going to get you on the agenda a little bit sooner today. And this is for the October 2024 timeframe. Thanks.
All right. Get to my report here a minute. For the Development Center report, you'll see that we continue to have a mile marker year as we continue to have the highest amount of construction investment here in the city of Grand Rapids, currently sitting at $627 million. Our Development Center productivity is still holding pretty standard, with about 6 days for commercial and residential building application turnaround to get feedback back to the customer. And our land use development time frame is at about 10 days right now. We are seeing a bit of an increase in the land use development overall turnaround from the application submitted to approval timeline. I did some looking into that to make sure that it wasn't really kind of on our end. It's mostly because it's sitting on the developer side of things as they reevaluate feedback from our initial reviews, I believe. So we're going to continue to look into that to make sure that it's nothing that the Development Center is causing. Number of units continues to grow. In fact, we just approved this month 36 units at Covenant Retirement Communities of Great Lakes on Lake Michigan Drive. You'll see that in the report as well. A couple of projects to highlight. In addition to the Covenant Retirement Community, the City Hall and County Building here are investing $2.1 million into ADA improvements around the site. And the Martin Luther King Park Lodge is investing $11 million into retrofitting that site as well for the community. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Colleagues, any questions about the Development Center report? Thanks for that proactive work to kind of look at what those numbers are doing. That's helpful. I don't have any other additional comments.
Question.
Yes.
Thank you for the report. Thank you, Chair. Inspectors, they fall under the Development Center?
That is correct.
Okay. I've been getting a lot of inquiries around some concerns with some inspections. I'm wondering what it might look like to include some stats for kind of that function, because I think, really does impact people's ability to get approval, close out, and things like that. So curious kind of what patterns you all are seeing in regards to inspections and turnaround and quality of service, and then what might make sense to possibly report to this body on a regular basis.
We track that as part of our internal KPIs. We are looking at number of inspections, result of those inspections, making sure that we follow up on those. That's a new initiative that our new building enforcement supervisor is looking to kind of spearhead on, making sure that if there are issues on a site that they are getting closed out appropriately. A lot of times we'll have a not approved and we don't hear back from the contractors and they just kind of sit idle. Also looking at our overall turnaround time. So when an inspection comes in, how far out are we pushing the contractors from that? So right now, for most of our inspection services, we're about at a week right now, with our mechanical being a bit on the longer side of things just because of the demand for their services, and the building inspection side of things being shorter to a couple of days out right now. So be happy to include some of those metrics in this report in the future to make sure you guys are informed on how we're operating.
Great. I think that would be helpful. Anything, I didn't know if you were getting up out of your seat, Ms. Turkelson. So Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Hearing no other comments.
One other follow-up.
Yep, City
Madam
Manager.
Chair. At the last, I think back in October, there was discussion about transformational brownfield and brownfields in general. And I believe the mayor, Commissioner Perdue specifically asked how many expired brownfields have we had and what has been the performance? Either value of the property or the tax capture that we've had. And Ms. Renero has worked with our assessor's office to get some preliminary data, and while we don't have a full report, just wanted to give a verbal update since the hearing at hand this afternoon relates to some of the value of brownfields.
Right, yes, thank you, City Manager. Yeah, I would give a shout out to Christian Borg, who actually helped pull this information. And this was the low-hanging fruit poll, okay? So we've got totals, we've got 16 projects that started to be complete in 2016 from a brownfield plan perspective. So, maybe the plan was approved 15 years prior. The most recent old project, if that makes sense, is the 7th Street properties. It was approved, the final plan expired their term in 2016. And I've got 1.5 million roughly in taxable value on just that project. So if we tally the other 15 that we know of, we are getting 64.6 million roughly for the taxable value at the end of the term of the brownfield plan. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And so it would be, we certainly could dive deeper here. I think that it would be more legwork to actually look at each plan that has been approved, each parcel, and understanding whether that project is completed and the actual taxable value today. And so I've got values that are more historic at the time the plan was completed in the term.
So the 64.6 million is based on 2016 figures?
No, I'm sorry. So I know this is confusing. So there's 16 projects between 2016 and 2024 that have brownfield plan terms finished.
Okay.
And so those 16 total 64.6 million.
Taxable value, that isn't what we're bringing in taxes per se.
Yes, that's what we're collecting, yes. And it would.
That is what, okay.
It's what we're collecting, and it would surely be more, right? Because the value I'm giving you, and some of these are dated, right? So if we go back to the project that finished in 2016 and we looked at those taxable values today, they would likely be more than what I have for my low-hanging fruit poll.
So your poll is from when that plan ended? So
Yes.
it could be 2016, 2018, 2023,
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
But during that time frame. Yep.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And then, I don't know if you have this on hand, how many active plans do we have right now? Or do we have a sense of how many more are going to be wrapped up in the next 10 years?
That's a good question, and I will get back to you.
Okay.
We definitely have that information, I think, from our brownfield meeting. The next one is moved up a little bit, I think, due to the holiday. But that would be something that we would review.
I feel like the active plan should be easy based
Yeah.
on Christian's last report in that regard. As far as those rounding out the next 10 years, that, yes, I would just want to do a poll with the team.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the one that you said that was, were you going to comment on the one that was, the 7th Street one, was that like a developer that no longer exists or something?
No, I was
okay.
going to make a
Yes.
separate a comment.
Go ahead, yes.
So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate having the data and the information. For me, it affirms what we've talked about around this table for a long time, that yes, we support incentives, knowing that there's a short-term incentive given to the developer, but long-term, it has positive implications once that brownfield is done. But also, with our brownfields, we're typically making, it's an incentive, performance-based incentive for property tax, and we know that we're an income tax-based city. And so all of those also contribute to our growing income tax base, which is the vast majority of our general fund, which is used to support all of our general departments.
Hearing no other comments, I think we can go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 12:56. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chair.